We're live.
Everybody be quiet. We're live. What's up to all our
Are we doing the show now?
Will it ever get old?
For him or for you or for who is that directed at?
What's up to all our sidekicks and henchmen out there in the Geek Nation? You're watching the CultPop Podcast live stream. We are going to be discussing this week's books. And a little bit later, we're going to talk about some gutters. We're going to do the gutter talk segment. We haven't figured out what we're going to discuss yet, but it'll be there. I'm your host, Johnny Destructo. With me this week is Brian.
Hi, I'm with you this week.
And Noel.
Hi, I'm here.
And Len.
Hey, what's up?
So, sad news this week. Who wants to talk about it?
Noel got a haircut, and I actually appreciated his hair longer.
Nice.
But, that notwithstanding.
I liked that he got the haircut because I just did a commission of him wherein I drew him with that haircut before he had that haircut. And now life is imitating art.
Some Dorian Gray shit, kind of.
Getting the draft being like, do you want your hair long? And I was like, no, it's fine. I have a haircut scheduled with your wife Thursday. Yeah.
It always sounds like such a threat. I have a haircut appointment with your wife.
Well, you know what? It's intended as like a sense of respect, like not just some random haircut.
Right.
A haircut.
Somebody on the street.
With your wife.
With your wife.
Yeah.
Well, your wife cuts my hair.
You know what? She cuts your hair more than she cuts mine. That reminds me. This kid, I must have used to wear a T-shirt a lot in grade school. I was in grade school, and I must have worn a T-shirt more than once in a week or something, possibly twice, like in 2 consecutive days. And the kid was like, "Oh, what are you gonna wear that T-shirt every day? You're so dirty. You wear that shirt." And my comeback, which I still remember and haunts me to this day, is, "I'll wear this T-shirt more than you ever will."
I like that. If I saw that on a sitcom, I would laugh and I would quote that line.
Oh. I felt like such a jackass because I was like, "Oh, that's a terrible comeback. Oh, he's proving his point. I'm dirty." So no,
I smell worse than you do.
What's that?
I smell worse than you do.
Yeah, I'm stinkier than you. Hey, Len, why don't you tell us what happened this week?
What happened this week, unfortunately, on Friday, we heard the sad news that the actor Chadwick Boseman, who portrayed, among other fabulous and historic roles, King T'Challa, Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, actually passed away from a 4-year battle with colon cancer. He was a very young, 43 years old, very young into his acting career, which has been monumental, to say the least, even in its brevity. And it was very touching and, a little humbling, I guess, for me as like a black geek, into how much his passing seemed to touch the world at large, not just the geek community on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess we could save it for gutter talk, but I've had just since Friday, first when actors and musicians and famous people pass, I very infrequently have physical reactions to it. Mm-hmm. Because I usually just, it's sad and it sucks, but I will not. I just don't have the capacity to necessarily to mourn for someone I've never actually met or known, right? Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, one will come around and you kind of think about the larger ramifications of it. And that's what strikes you. And so I've had a lot of not weird thoughts, but this is a rough one. And my brain immediately went to, well, now what? What's the right thing to do? Because as you alluded to, it's bigger than the actor. But the actor was so vital to it. I mean, it's not. What are you supposed to do? You can't just recast and chalk it up because he is King T'Challa. Period.
Right.
But you can't take something like that off the board because it's so incredibly important to so many people. So what are you supposed to do? You know? And I know it's flippant to talk like this man died of colorectal cancer, which is like the second leading cause of death or cancer death to people of color, men of color. So check your butts. But that's it. I know it seems flippant, but he was an icon. He was a symbol. He That's more than just now. That's a feeling. It's a movement. That's an event. It's a little bit more complicated, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was brokenhearted when I heard about it. At first, I didn't register. I was like, "What? Who? He did what? What are you talking about?" And I didn't. For some reason, it didn't like just fully register, and I had to keep searching for it. And like, oh no, this is actually real. This actually happened. It's just awful. And the fact that I guess he's been dealing with it for 4 years and still working his ass off is just so impressive. But
yeah, I saw somebody point out where a little while ago people were making fun of him online, as people do when there's any kind of physical change to a famous person. And I mean, something like this shouldn't be necessary at all, and it's not really the main point. But I just saw somebody point out like, yo, this is what was going on, and maybe making fun of them about it wasn't the right call.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was an award show about a year later, and he looked gone. Yeah. And I immediately thought it was for a role because he didn't look like him. I was just like, he must be playing something that requires him to be rail thin.
Yeah.
Cool. Actors are like that.
Yeah.
I
never thought he was sick.
Yeah. But, well, yeah, our condolences go out to, I guess, everybody who's feeling it. It's terrible. Terrible news.
And we're certainly getting more a little bit more into it in the Gutter Talk segment. But for now, let's start spoiling.
Oh, spoiler alert! Let's do it.
Do we have letters?
We have letters.
We've got lots and lots of letters.
Letters.
Mail.
I got that last part.
I am bringing up the email now. Let's see. Anthony Drago. Anthony Drago. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do the thing. StreamYard. I'm going to go back. And then banners. And then
we're doing it live.
There it is.
Letters segment. Look at that. It's the letters segment. Last week, I wrote in criticizing Invincible. I've been on vacation catching up on some reading, and I felt I should do some praising instead. Before the praise, first off, 25 issues into Invincible, and I have some critiques. Kirkman cannot write dialogue. Characters are poorly written. Also, if this is supposed to be funny, it is not. I think I'm done waiting for this to get good. Giant Days Volume 8. I love this series. It makes me laugh out loud. Astro City, The Dark Ages Book 1, still great. I think Black Hammer suffers by comparison to this book. American Carnage, holy bleep, that was bleeped up. Freedom Fighters by Robert Venditti, 6 issues in, and wow, this is good. I was unfamiliar with these characters, but I'm glad I took a chance on this. Should I go back and read the older stuff? Has anyone read Freedom Fighters? Older stuff?
What does he mean by the older stuff? The DC Freedom Fighters? I mean, there's a lot. I've read some older Freedom Fighter stuff, mostly what was it? About 10 years ago, it was, I think, the second to most recent incarnation. It was pretty good. The Ray was in it. I like the Ray.
Yeah, like those are characters that are so infrequently highlighted. You're like this miniseries, this maxi series is you're good. Yeah.
The Dollhouse Family and Plunge. In issue 3 of Plunge, there is a reference to a story point from Dollhouse Family. Wondering if the Hill House books have a common through line. This might even connect to the axe in Basket Full of Heads. I don't remember the Dollhouse Family reference in Plunge.
There's been a couple of issues of Dollhouse Family since we last reviewed it for the show.
Did anybody finish it?
No, I want to, and I think it's I have them, and JD is accruing them for me. But yeah,
I did finish Plunge this week, though.
My resources are being accrued by JB, my box.
Canopus, weird 4-issue sci-fi book from Scout Comics. Astronaut is stranded 300 light years from Earth with no memories. It's worth a read.
What was the name of that one?
Canopus. Canopus.
Right. I mean, I'll look up the creative team. I know you don't have it there. I was about to ask you, like, who wrote it?
I don't know.
It's a real-time conversation. Yeah,
I do think it's based on the that Corvell
like the ice cream
cake, though. Yeah,
probably. Who is now lost in space?
Kids, ask your grandparents who Cookie Puss was. Sentient. I read this based on your recommendation, and it was great. Thanks. Similar to your TKO episode, have you thought about devoting time to profile other small businesses like Scout, Vault, or Aftershock? Thanks, guys.
I would totally do that.
Yeah, we would totally do that. For show.
The function of doing a TKO though was there was at a time when there was no new books every week, so it was like if you want us to skip new comics, or
we could do it as a book club. I mean, maybe not as in depth of a profile, but if we did like four number one issues from them or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Good do.
It's Dave Chisholm, Canopus, written in art by Dave Chisholm.
Great, I've made a note of it. I'm interested in that.
4-issue,
Brian, and I'll order it in for you.
Yeah, please do, JJ.
Everything other than everything he mentioned. I have read Invincible, and I disagree with him.
Yeah, me too.
I've heard of Giant Days. I've heard of Freedom Fighters. I've heard of Astro City. Never read them. Everything else is a mystery. So,
Astro City Dark Ages I have read, and
isn't that supposed to be like the worst one?
What that?
No.
Isn't that supposed to be like the worst one?
Oh, the worst one.
Everyone talks about that being the worst one.
I wouldn't say that, but it does break. For my money, now I love Astro City, but Local Heroes really did not grab me. It was about a bunch of people, just regular folks in the Astro City universe. But Dark Ages diverges from its like Silver Age homage feel to get into more of an 80s homage feel, like brushing on grim and gritty. And it wasn't quite like the classic iconic Astro City. It was good though. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's the worst one by any standpoint. I think it's very ambitious. So in there, sometimes it drops the ball a little bit. But I thought that it was pretty good. And to your comment about Local Heroes is probably comes off as disjointed because it isn't one singular story. It's just collected. It's just collected like little, stories that would be in between the volumes, So.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No.
Has Astro City? So Astro City's been going on for what, like 48 years now?
48, 49.
For a minute.
And also too, there's no from an outsider's perspective, there's literally no number continuity or any kind of like that's your start. Has it ever been recollected in just like first volume tome, like an omnibus or a compendium or a reprint of just like, so I know I could just get this one trade that's the first 12, and because it's all like miniseries and ages, and
it's miniseries now.
Comes back.
It started out as like a regular, right, Len? It started out as a regular, like just ongoing series for a long time, and then it became kind of infrequent, I think, and then that's when he started doing like other stuff. So basically, anything with a subtitle comes after, I would assume, just Astro City.
True. It started as a an ongoing, but to Noel's point, it even in its ongoingness, it was always a series of stories. Yeah. So like 6
and how they're
here,
collected.
And
how they're collected.
There.
There's no number.
Well, they are collected. They are collected in order, and I think they actually went back a few years ago to kind of like reprint some of the older ones so they all have like a number on the side on the spine. So it'll say like this is the first Astro City collection. It's the second. So giving you an order up to where they are now, which I think it's like around 17, 18, or 19th collection. While the time does jump around sometime in story wise, as you read, you will pick up on where everything kind of falls in line. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was at I want to say last year, because I've always kind of wanted to read Astro City, but it just seems like there's no organic entry point other than going to the start, which is fine. But I was in a store that was liquidating a couple, like I want to say last year, that place in New Hope. They had a bunch of 50% off Astro City, like little hardcovers and like little 6-issue ones.
Nice.
Not a single one. Well, like it was like 3 different ones, but they were all over the place. Not a single one had any kind of number or any kind of indication this is the start. It was just like Astro City, and the name on the spine was the name of the arc.
Yeah.
And I wasn't gonna sit in the store on Wikipedia looking up the order of things. So I was like, you know what, just another day. Yeah. But I almost want them to, like, they've been doing these soft cover compendiums and stuff, and like I can't just give me Astro City like that, so I could just ingest the whole first chunk.
I would probably just start with issue 1. Astro City issue 1 is itself a great episode, and they do little, like, it'll focus on Samaritan, and then it'll focus on the whatever the Fantastic Four analog is, and so they jump around, and that's Samaritan, by the way. And I think Life in the Big City is the first. First trade, right? Okay, great.
The first trade, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great story. Issue 1 is a great story, one and done, and a bunch of them are either like 1 to 3 issue arcs. Yeah.
If I was going to give anybody, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I would buy the first 2 because Life in the City introduces you into the world of Astro City by way of multiple different heroes, starting with the Samaritan and then going to the First Family. That's the Fantastic Four analog, and a few others, and it kind of like gives hints to the broader universe of Astro City by its references to other heroes and little, like, like this panel have this hero in there, and it's an allusion to, oh my God, something happened to the Silver Agent. What happened? So I would get that one, and then I would get the Confessions one, which is the next one, which deals with a Batman and Robin analog, but it is a full just 6-issue story that takes place at that time, current day Astro City. So while it gives you an update on what's happening in current day Astro City for a comic that probably came out in the late 80s, 90s, but it is one full sequential story. So it is really, 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 really dope. Probably
I love
my
Confession.
favorite. Yeah, that's probably my
favorite. Oh, you're right.
One.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Action figure expert asked if Alex Ross is still doing all the covers. As far as I know, he is the only person who has ever done covers. And Brent Anderson, Brent or Brett?
Brent.
Brent did. I think he has dropped out recently, but for a very, very long time was the only artist. And he has such a classic style, and it fits UCX like classic style of writing for Astro City so well that it's great that it's all one artist.
Yeah, it's him for most of its run. I hate to say it, but in the later issues that he is drawing, you can see where he's kind of like losing his touch a little bit because Brent Anderson's not a young guy. And then Busick, who's the writer, Kurt Busick, brings in other writers, other artists to kind of like take over the reins for a little bit. And I think he's beginning to lock down on a single artist. Well, I know his tack now is for it no longer to come out in miniseries and no longer to basically just get the whole story done then put it out as one big collection.
Nice.
Christopher St. Saucy Goodnight says, Astro City feels like a precursor to Jeff Lemire series of superhero series where it's minis, but they tie together. Black Hammer, I'm assuming he's talking about. So,
It's gotta be. Yeah.
Thank you so much for writing in, Anthony Drago. Christopher St. Saucy wrote in, Bill and Ted's new Teenage Bounty Hunter Mutants. Hey, y'all. Thought I'd talk about 3 things that I enjoyed this week. The first, of course, is Bill and Ted Face the Music. I saw Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in grade school on VHS. It's still a classic, minus a slur, of course. I still think the final presentation would make a great stage play. I thought Billy and Thea were fine. They weren't carbon copies of Bill and Ted, but they were still delightfully dorkish. I'd have given anything to have someone other than Shal as the new emissary from the future.
Okay, is he just doing a review of the movie that no one else has seen yet? Like, there's some surprises in the flick. I mean, a little bit of them, yeah.
Oh.
I do want to see that movie, but I haven't seen it yet.
Parentage, the role that Shaw plays, a bunch of stuff, and then like there's a couple of characters that I had no idea were even a part of the movie that show up, and they're the best part. So like, is he just gonna go through the cast list for the rest of the email?
No.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
He just has a problem with, I guess, Kristen Shaw has been cast in the movie, and he would have preferred Tig Notaro or Lauren Lapkus.
I'm such a big Kristen Shaw fan. Kristen.
She's fun. New Mutants. Yes, I went to theaters to see it. I wore a mask the whole time, and that worked out fine because it muffled a couple of fuck yeahs and oh shits. If you go in expecting a traditional X-Men or superhero movie, then you are going to be disappointed. If you go in expecting a horror movie with mutant characters, then you should be able to enjoy it, especially when a character you aren't expecting shows up. Go on and guess. I dare you. No, I'm not going to guess.
Gambit.
What was that, Brian?
Bushman.
Bushman. And finally, Teenage Bounty Hunters. It's a new Netflix dramedy in the vein of Saved with Mandy Moore and Jenna Malone. Good Christian bitches, starring Leslie Bibb and Kristen Chenoweth and Charlie's Angels. Avoid all spoilers and go in knowing all of the hype you might have heard is true. Also, of course, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. What makes this death hurt the most is he wasn't self-inflicted. It wasn't self-inflicted due to drugs or suicide. It was cancer. I'm sure you will weigh in on it and how the toxic news sites and fans are handling it. Can't wait for your reviews of We Only Find Them When They Are Dead and Spy Island next week. Chris St. Saucy, good night. I like how he very, very slyly demands 2 books we're going to review.
Which it was the I always forget the title of the Tinian one, even though I think I'm on the list for it.
We only find them when they are dead. And then another one called Spy Island, which I don't know.
That's what's her name? She wrote Hawk or Black Canary series and Man Eaters.
Chelsea Kane.
Thank you. That's Chelsea Kane's new book.
Yeah. She's disappointed me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've never read Man Eaters, nor do I follow her on social media.
There was an interesting thing going on with Man Eaters where, the story is about women, a world where women turn into like were-panthers every month. And so the patriarchy has created a drink that suppresses that gene in women. So it's a feminist story. But I guess a bunch of trans people were like, what about trans people? How come they're not in the story? And instead of, I guess, acknowledging that and responding in a way that maybe she should have, she just printed people's tweets without their permission inside her comic book in the panels of the comic book in billboards.
Well, they did. I mean, could you do that for, like, if a news anchor wrote something, could you reprint that as an artifact of the world?
I guess.
It depends on
if you're a jerk or not.
I was going to say, there's nothing illegal about it, Brian.
Oh,
it's just a douchey move.
Public forum.
Right. Okay.
It was just a dick move.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought the without their permission was the crux of.
It was just,
I just thought that was an important part of the.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, Chris St. Saucy. Good night. I am looking forward to New Mutants no matter what anybody says. There's plenty of movies that get terrible reviews, and I wind up enjoying them anyway because I have terrible taste. Speaking of which, let's move on to this week's books, wherein I will exhibit my terrible tastes. The Three Jokers, #1, by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok. 30 years after Batman the Killing Joke changed comics forever, Three Jokers re-examines the myth of who, or what, the Joker is, and what is at the heart of his eternal battle with Batman. New York Times bestselling, blah, 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 Dark Side War, Pages of Justice League, blah, 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 Years of Anticipation, Rebirth 1, epic miniseries you're waiting for is here. Find out why there are three Jokers and what that means for the Dark Knight and the Clown Prince of Crime. It's a mystery unlike any Batman has ever faced. So I already talked about this book without spoilers. I did a Thunder Round review.
Thunder Round.
At the beginning of the week on the YouTube channel. So I'm going to let you guys take it. Brian, what did you think of the Three Jokers?
I thought it was like a pretty good, fun, interesting story. As the solicit mentions, it has been years awaited. And when it was, that is evident in the art. Like Batman's got a costume that he was wearing several years ago, like a temporary type costume from pre-Rebirth, I believe, or around Rebirth.
I believe it's pre-birth.
Pre-birth, his pre-birth costume it was. And temporary in the sense that it just didn't end up sticking around for that long. Obviously, they're all kind of go around. But anyway, I was more excited about this book when it was first announced, when it seemed like it would have something to do with continuity, and there's three Jokers, and what's that all about? And so this will do a lot of what has since been done in Rebirth and is going on in Death Metal and Doomsday Clock and all of those things. And that's still ongoing. It just doesn't feel like this is important to that. And maybe it never was. Maybe there's another explanation. But I remember Batman was on the Mobius chair, and he was like, oh, there's three Jokers. What's that all about? And it was a big mystery. And now it feels like the force of the mystery is kind of waned. But overall, the story itself was good. You get a classic Batman scars scene, you know. Martha Wayne doesn't want to go in. I like that they have Barbara Gordon and Jason Todd as the two that are going up against him. So yeah, overall enjoyable.
I don't agree with you with the continuity, the lack of continuity waning on this, because if anything, this book was pure continuity. All the motivations and everything have to do with that's what I was laughing at, looking like a snack.
Thank you, Matt.
How can JD have bad taste when he's over here looking like a snack?
I know. What do snacks eat?
No punctuation. None needed.
Thank you.
This entire book has been this entire issue is pure continuity. The choice of the characters, their motivations, exactly what happened. It's literally steeped in every single fiber of continuity. Because it doesn't match up with what's happening right now. I don't necessarily think, if anything, like that just weakens what's happening in current books, not what this is to me. And with all the new, like, everything matters, everything happened, it's like, okay, I get it. So I'm choosing to read this as just a pure sequel to what was going on, pre-52, because it is,
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying, was that I thought it was going to be like a more important in continuity. Like the current DC, it would be like, here's why there's three Jokers. They're going to merge into one or something or whatever,
I think it
wasn't referencing. Maybe it will.
It will. It will just as much as every single great story, or a lot of the great stories that we now take for granted that are in continuity, were not written in continuity. The Killing Joke was not in continuity. Dark Knight Returns was not in continuity. Now they just keep inching towards it. Like a good story is going to have everything meld around it. And so at that, like with that, like they're going to say it's not in continuity. 10 years from now, people are going to use threads in this book to do whatever they want with, like right now too, in Wonder Woman, like in current continuity, she did not break Maxwell Lord's neck. However, they did have a fight. So they're using your emotions of remembering what happened pre this current continuity and filtering it into current continuity. Like it's all cyclical. It'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying whether or not it's in continuity. I thought it was like, how Doomsday Clock made a statement about what is now DC continuity, like the current continuity. I thought back when they were first like, why are there 3 Jokers? I thought it was going to be that kind of book where it's like 0 hour style. Like, okay, we're kind of going back on the New 52 a little bit. But a lot of that's already been gone back on in one way. So, yeah. Not whether or not it takes place in continuity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Glenn.
I like the book. It's a beautiful book. You can't not like Jason Fabok's art on it. The writing, like at first I was a little like, oh man, I do not need this Watchmen 9 grid, homage that is happening in this book. This is like, I feel like it's a little bit overused and not used as well. But and then you get the scars scene. I'm like, there's more scars? Like, how many pages of the scars are we going to do? Like, I mean, it was kind of interesting and it was kind of cool. It was like, it was almost taking what is, and not to push back on you that much, Brian, but the whole classic Batman scars thing really doves down to 2 points. It really goes back to Alex Ross doing a painting of Batman and showing all the scars on his back. And Alex Ross's painting is actually an homage to a panel from a long forgotten story about the Golden Age Batman, when Catwoman, when he first is about to, like, it talks about him actually marrying Catwoman, and Catwoman notices the scars on his back. That's really the classicness of the whole idea of Batman with these scars. That's where it was born. So this story, that opening part was kind of cool because it was like the story behind the scars, and that was dope. And if that was just it, that would have been a nice little piece of Batman or Detective Comics 1027. That would have been a nice little story there before to be kicking off this book. And for going on so long, I was like, all right, dog, we better be going somewhere. We better be going somewhere with this. Go ahead, Noel.
Well, no, I think where they're going is interesting, especially with the choice of the cast. This whole thing is about scar tissue and the ramifications of it, right? Like the phantom pains. That's why you've got Jason Todd, who was fucking killed by the Joker, and Barbara Gordon, who was paralyzed by the Joker, which is now in continuity also.
Right.
So like the whole, I think they were doing the groundwork thematically of like showing you the various scars for just Batman in that scene, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
No, it's cool.
Yeah, that's the theme.
Later. That is
the
cool.
theme is scars.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thing, yeah.
And like I said, for the most part, I enjoyed the book a lot. I really liked once it got past that and got into Batman. This is where it felt classic to me. Batman at the scene, the crime scene, talking to the police, doing the detective work, actually like having a little commentary of Batman talking to somebody in his ear and somebody actually around him like, who the hell is he talking to? I think he's taking too many whacks upside the head, and then his Batgirl. I mean, I loved all of that. That's when this book started to cook. That's when this book started to really mean something, because it was this ground level detective story that I was loving. And then, yeah, I certainly agree. I loved having Jason and Barbara in there and their collective scar tissue from the Joker and what the Joker has meant to in their lives, and the commentary that it presents on that. I loved every part of this. I think it was great. I enjoyed it. It was fantastic reading. It didn't feel too long. I love the end. The only thing I didn't like about this book has absolutely nothing to do with this book. I wish DC had the courage to hold off on doing anything Joker until this book came out, because that's the only thing. this book is coming out in a tsunami of Joker.
Yeah.
And that's the bad thing about that's the only bad thing that this book cannot help. This is the Joker you need.
I think what happened was it was supposed to come out way sooner than it has, and it got pushed back so far that we know the Joker war is going on and all this other stuff, but we need to get this book out.
So I know that most of you guys read this digitally.
I didn't.
I said most. 50%. 50% of you guys read this digitally.
Better. Thank you.
The presentation of the actual printing is awesome. It's all embossed and it's just a really, really pretty book. But I'm flipping through and each character gets their scar scenes, which I thought was really cool. And
Jason Todd on the back of the head. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I like about the scar scene, I actually sat with that and I thought it was really well done. You have, it paces it out so that you're kind of sitting in the moment. I could almost hear sort of the score, right? If this was a film, I could hear the score of the music playing and then the violence of the scenes where Batman is getting these scars from the Penguin, from Croc, from Bane, Riddler, Catwoman, and then it shows 3 consecutive ones, all the Joker. And I like how that was just using the scars to sort of bring home the idea that the Joker is the worst of them all, and he really does the most damage. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a nice piece of storytelling. I really liked it.
The idea that there could be other ones too is, Joker, one of his classic moves is to make people kind of look like him or fish. But but usually the fish live, I guess, but the people don't. And the idea that it's like a possibility that he could create more, not that they would be as bad as him, but stand-in Jokers, I don't think has ever really been explored before. It's interesting.
Well, that's the question, right? So do we even know, are these 3 Jokers created by the Joker, or is this a multiversal happening?
I think it's a multiversal, but I don't,
Yeah. I think personally, I think it's multiversal because of the origins of this story, wherein, when Batman sat on the Mobius chair and was able to see all of existence, and then a freak out during Rebirth, DC Rebirth 1. Yeah. So it always was leaning towards sitting outside of normal timeline. But honestly, I'm just in for whatever. Yeah. Tell me what you're going to tell me. But I did have a question for JD. The score you hear in your head when you were reading this, was it Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah?
Oh my God. God damn it. No.
Was that what you heard?
No, it's not that self-important.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if your thoughts were as douchey as that preview.
Jesus Christ. All right. Highly recommend Batman 3 Jokers. It's a 3-issue miniseries coming out from DC Comics. It is a Black Label book. Oh, the one thing I kind of wish it was the Black Label oversized issue.
It's not, because I haven't read it digitally. I didn't know.
It's a regular. Yeah. It's a regular comic dimensions, but it's perfect bound instead of stapled.
Yeah, it's a bunch of this, a bunch of the Black Label books that I suspect weren't supposed to be Black Label are this, and then the ones that were made Black Label are the super prestige, because it was this one, it was the Snyder and Capullo Batman one is this format, the normal perfect bound 7x9. Those could have easily been in continuity books. And then, the big, crazy, weird ones that are clearly outside of continuity are the
big boys. Let's move on to Daredevil Annual #1 by Chip Zdarsky and Manuel Garcia. One more day. That's all it says in the in the Diamond previews.
Yeah.
So I saw the one more day on the title on the cover of the book. And I thought, what the hell? What could this possibly? So for anybody who doesn't know, One More Day is sort of a controversial title to use for comic fans, because One More Day was a storyline in the Spider-Man realm of the Marvel Universe, wherein They purposely decided they were going to get rid of the marriage between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. So they had Peter Parker do something wildly out of character. And he made a deal with Mephisto, the devil, to save his Aunt May, but then abolish his marriage as if it never happened. And it is widely loathed as a Spider-Man story. It's up there with like Sins Remembered and probably the Clone Saga as like missteps.
Is that the Gwen Stacy one, Sins Remembered?
Yes.
The children? Yeah.
So, when I saw it on the title, I was like, oh, geez. So I don't remember where Mike comes from. So when I opened this up, I was like, wait, okay, that's Mike Murdock, who is an alter ego that Matt Murdock uses as like a fake twin brother that he has. Kind of like, when Batman goes undercover as Matchstick Malone. Yeah. But I was like, wait, why can he see? Why isn't he blind? Because it's really Matt Murdock. Turns out it's not Matt Murdock. Mike Murdock, the alter ego of Matt Murdock, has been given life. He exists now as a person, and he's hanging out with the Hood, who is a character I really like, who's created by Brian K. Vaughan and powered up by Brian Michael Bendis. And I thought this was a pretty interesting issue where Mike, this guy who just came into existence, decides he wants to be real. He wants to be a real boy, and he wants to have a past and everything. So he winds up getting an artifact that the Hood has, which he helped himself level up, in order to give himself a past. And this is what this story is. What did you guys think? No.
Yeah, the whole Mike becoming sentient, I think that happened during Charles Soule run. Just like becoming a real person. Oh, okay. Like the Daredevil run that I've never read, but I'm pretty sure it happened there because it was like a double identity thing. I liked, after reading it, I liked the cheekiness of using One More Day, because it literally was rewriting of history in order to insert someone into continuity. So it had the same level of controversy, or just like, messing with reality. I thought that was really funny. I like the general theme of the book, that this empty person or empty soul used magic to create a whole backstory because he felt empty, and then he got his whole backstory and he felt effing awful because he was agents in the death of their father. So he got the entirety of a tortured life in like one sitting, and now he just sucks. So like I loved the whole seat and all of it. As for like liking the issue, it was fine. Yeah, like I loved everything about what they did, but it was kind of a bore to read. I just didn't like the issue itself.
Len.
So, yeah, I kind of agree with Noel right there. It was interesting. It was, kind of like this reimagining of the Daredevil history, and filling in Mike in there. But at the end of the day, it was like, so, like I just did not. I mean, like it didn't do anything, especially because him working himself into the history didn't really change much. It didn't, and I thought they went out of his way to kind of like him. It not to be a disruptor. I'm like, yo, if you're going to do it, be a disruption to this thing. Now I understand maybe, annuals historically, try to be in and of themselves so they don't have a greater impact on the ongoing issue. So if you don't buy the annual, you're not missing anything. So I guess that makes sense. But I mean, then to me, then don't do it as a friggin' annual. Just don't do it. It's just I didn't care.
Okay. I think it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see moving forward what happens now that Daredevil has an actual twin brother who isn't blind and is kind of a piece of shit.
Yeah, I like the ramifications or the possibilities for it more than I enjoyed actually reading the story. So like if this was the middle of like a trade or something that you were plowing through, it'd be great. But like as a as I'm jumping into an annual. It's like, all right.
Which is another thing that annuals can do sometimes, to Len's point. Like, they occasionally can be like hey, here's a lot more about this one character that we're going to be using going forward, you know. And I wonder if that's what was going on here. I thought the strangeness of bringing Mike in, I didn't know that he had been made a real person. I think originally he was fake, but everyone assumed he was Daredevil was the reason that he was created. So it was like something to do with protecting Matt Murdock's secret identity.
Well, I thought it was, so back when Matt Murdock, there was like a dark period in the Marvel Universe where both Spider-Man and Daredevil decided they were no longer going to be their civilian alter egos. So Spider-Man just became the Spider, and he was like not Peter Parker anymore as far as you could.
No, this was. I think this was like in the 70s. Was when.
Oh.
I think so.
Oh, because I think, you know, Matt Murdock was dead, but Mike Murdock was alive.
Oh, I thought that's when he became Jack Batlin. Or maybe that was a different time. But so I wonder, like, I thought that it was interesting, him, like you said, no, like giving himself like a full existence as opposed to just this kind of like, I guess, partial reality. Like, he existed now, but he wasn't actually part of the history kind of thing. So that was interesting. Although when he wakes up and he's like, oh, you know, I'm so sorry, he retains the memory that he just did this, right? Like, he didn't have anything to do. He did now, but it would have played out the same way with his dad. That's got to be a complex emotional reality.
I was going to say, like, analytical rational versus pure emotional, that you just got like a full dose of. Yeah.
Like, I'm aware emotionally, I feel like I did this, but I know that I didn't, and I put myself in through this.
Oh wait, actually, he did though. So like the rules of the runestone were that you completely create reality, like you rewrite reality altogether. So he may know that he did the spell, but he also actively did those things.
He did. Yeah. He did do those things. I guess it's just like the dad they would have died anyway, but that might not make it any easier. It's I don't know how it would be if that was you.
Makes you understand interesting questions. That's what I like about it.
It sure does. Yeah. And that was it. That was enough for me. Like, you get these like kind of flashpoints of Daredevil history. I'm not a huge Daredevil fan, so it's not like I've seen these all the time. But you know, the existential stuff was enough for me. I don't understand why he has a beard. Do you guys get that? He's got it when he comes back from he like does the runestone thing, or the Nornstone, thing, and then he's got a beard, like a well-kempt beard, and then he doesn't in the next panel, or the next page anymore.
I noticed that too, and I'm trying to see the passage of time, like read the passage of time, and it didn't land for me.
Yeah,
but because I didn't care, I just kept reading.
It didn't.
Yeah, well, maybe he didn't live out loud, right? So he could have literally been in that spell for 2-3 weeks.
I get that sense, like time passed. Yeah.
I looked up his origin. You guys want it?
Yeah.
After Daredevil enlisted the help of Inhuman named Reader to form a group to take down Mayor Wilson Fisk, Reader accidentally used his ability to physically manifest anything he read while researching on Mike Murdock, which resulted in the manifestation as a real person who genuinely believed that he to be Matt Murdock's twin brother and possessed both the abilities and brash personality he was supposed to have. So this was during Charles Soule's run.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's when he became sentient. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
All right. Yeah. Legion of Superheroes, number 8. I'm going to change the banner so that Chris knows to come back. There we go. Brian Michael Bendis, art by everyone. Beginning a special 2-part comic storytelling event over the course of 2 spectacular issues, 44 artists will dive into the 31st century, with each page starring a different Legionnaire. It starts when the team is arrested by a galactic authority that does not approve of the Legion, and it leads into an intergalactic showdown that will affect every member of the team. One of the things I like about Brian Michael Bendis as a creator is that he does his best to showcase artists that he think deserve showcasing or maybe haven't been in the spotlight in a long time, and it's sort of his duty to get them some work. And so he does this. He's been doing this for years and years, both Marvel and DC, where he will specifically write books, I think, to showcase different artists and see how many people he can get to draw the book. So that being said, this was fun. I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, but then I skipped 7 by accident and I jumped right into 8. And I thought it was pretty fun. I'm really enjoying this Legion book. Seeing all of different artists draw these characters was a lot of fun.
What was 7? Which one did you miss?
What?
Which one did you miss?
Number 7?
7.
Issue 7. This is.
I'm sorry. I thought because it's so episodic, this story. I was like, I don't know why he's referring to these as numbers. I thought you meant like you accidentally missed part of this comic.
Sorry.
Oh,
issue
very
7.
good.
And then I jumped into issue 8. But man, I think my favorite page is actually the opening page where we see Superboy. Look at that face. This is just like the happiest, sweetest. I just love the expression on this kid's face.
And the story he's telling, the recap he's telling, is actually pretty dire. But he's just like, I'm in the future. Like it's pure Superman, right? Or it's so great. Like, we got arrested, and I'm in the future, and we just brought back the sea, and I gotta go.
There's space aliens, but that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Oh, I gotta stop seeing aliens. That doesn't. Yeah.
Right.
So funny. But yeah, I thought this was fun. What did you think, Brian?
I liked it a lot. I liked. We see it on the first page. Element Lad, and then a little later, Phantom Girl. Or I like their redesigns. A lot of these redesigns have been very cool for the Legion, which is a big part of the Legion for me. It's like, how are they going to look? Yeah, they were a lot of fun. I liked getting the little blurbs. There's a few things that Bendis is changing that I'm like, I don't like it this way as much. We'll see how it goes. I don't know why Mon-El, like, he's not a Daxamite anymore. That was a shock when they say there's 2 Kryptonians on the team and now he's the great whatever grandson. I found myself thinking Jeff Johns takes like old continuity and all weaves it together in a way that I find it very satisfying. Brian Michael Bendis takes old continuity and is like, I'm going to change that and do something different. And sometimes it's very cool. Like some things that he does are very cool. The way that he writes them all are engaging and enjoyable. And this was a cool, like, kind of, primer to their, I thought it was coming up here. Or like Joe Na, the guy whose dad is, for the non-Legion fans, the guy whose dad is their kind of main antagonist. His also seems to have powers. So I don't know what the story is there. Does Joe Na get his powers from some other way? Oh, this artist is great. Anyway, yeah, I liked it. The guy that did Parallel.
Mike Allred.
I wondered if it was him or somebody that looked like him. All right, so that's no surprise. Oh, and there's the one that I was talking about, the Tinyuwazu Phantom Girl. I like her kind of new look.
Yeah. And then Mon-El just breaks up with her, like, boom.
Yeah, they're kind of in a bit. They've already got relationships formed and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Bendis has a really fun way of, at least fun to my ears or my eyes as I read it, of entering scenes and conversations midway through and then leaving about a second before they should be over. So it keeps everything very engaging going through. So like in one page, we witnessed the introduction of a character, the introduction of her relationship, another character's new status quo, and then they break up. And this happened in 6 panels.
Right.
And then also in the following panel, you get the whole story dichotomy of no one else on the team knew that they were even dating.
Right. Yeah.
And this happened so quickly and so fast. It's the kind of thing that if you don't really if you're not paying attention to what he's doing, it's like there's 1,000 balls in the air and it seems like chaos, but it's incredibly organized chaos and it's intentional chaos. And I just really, really appreciate that. Yeah, I liked this a lot.
Nice.
Well, here we go. I appreciate everything y'all said, and I appreciate Brian Michael Bendis' writing. I appreciate the characters that he's creating in the Legion. I like the redesigns of everybody. I enjoyed most of the artwork that is in this book. Some of them I wish maybe had it extended past just one page, but Brian's got his experiment, if you will, that he's doing, so he's going to roll with it, rock with it. So I liked it. This would have been a very interesting Legion of Superheroes annual number 1, but it's number 8 of an ongoing series that, to me, has a bit of the smell of spinning tires. It feels like there's just wheels just spinning. The characterization of everyone and how they get along with each other is slowly being introduced, and you're falling in love with some aspects of it. But story-wise, I feel that the book as a whole is kind of just spinning its wheels along. And that and this issue with all of these artists just really has that smell to me of Brian Michael Bendis probably being a little upset that he's hitched his cart to the Ryan Sook art machine and Ryan Sook not being able to keep up on a regular schedule as easily as Bendis can, probably because he's the writer, but he's writing a tons of things. And him trying to just kind of like keep this the train on the track. I like the story. You're introducing all of the Legion. I like most of the redesigns. I like the characterization. I actually appreciate Mon-El actually having more of a relationship with Superboy, because I thought it was very nebulous for most of his creation, and then they would try to like backtrack it and try to make him more connected than he technically should be. I like.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean nebulous? He was a Daxamite.
True,
yeah,
but
L in his name was
yeah,
always
they had the L, and they
that was because he thought he was Superman's cousin. Yeah.
And then they always tried to present him, even though he wasn't his cousin, but almost as if they were cousins for a long time. And as opposed to just saying like, yeah, dude, this was in the future. Yes, I am a Kryptonian. Hal, whoops, stay tuned. I like that. I enjoy that aspect of it, you know? And maybe they'll never mention why. That would be fine with me. You know what I mean? There's some Kryptonian seed out there. Who knows? So I like that, but it's just the whole spinning wheels of it, especially now. I thought this was just going to be one issue. I was like, okay, this is probably like a little fill-in issue. Yeah. But no, this is going to be 2 issues of 44 artists. Oh, yeah. This is definitely spinning wheels to me.
We are still being introduced to characters in the 8th issue. Yeah.
I completely agree and would double down money that this is spinning wheels, but not in a negative way. It's just like, I know Ryan Sook is slower than monthly. So how do I create places in my story to be able to do that without just the regular fill-in issue to buy him time? And Bendis historically writes like 6 months in advance or 6 issues in advance. So him knowing that like, oh, I can get away with like a jam issue here and here without grinding to a complete halt while Ryan catches up on 2 issues. Great. So like, I know that it's like, I could see the seams as to why they would do something like this. But even that, it was done in such a thoughtful and fun way that I'm super okay with the seams.
I didn't feel like this was spinning its wheels at all. I think that the storyline is basically we've got Superboy in the future. The Legion of Superheroes has to deal with the politics of being the Legion and the Madam Honor who like started off cool and now kind of sucks. And the Aquaman's Trident and this douchebag, what's his name? The Krav, leader of the planetary Rimbor.
Yeah.
And they whooped his ass last issue. And so he comes back and says, we're going to have a trial because you guys have fucked with me. So it's a whole big action-based issue where they're, you know, the Rimbornians?
Rimbor.
Rimborans?
Yeah.
Rimborians.
I'll go Rimborian.
Rimborians. I like that. Yeah.
The rimming buttholes, whatever they're called, have come to collect the Legion in order to put them on trial. I thought it was a blast. It didn't feel like it was spinning its wheels to me, but again, I have bad taste. So
We have bad.
I guess the biggest reason why it bothers me is because this is Legion number 8. It's number 8.
yeah, they're on trial.
Yeah.
It's the classic number 8 issue where the main have to get on trial. It happens every series.
Every 8th or 9th issue, and this one's just both.
Yeah, but usually it's drawn by one artist.
And they all
You don't need 44 artists to tell that story.
In issue 6, they already had a revote of the leader. That's also a classic Legion thing. Just get that all done in the first year.
That is. Cosmic Boy's characterization here is really interesting, where like he's not great in the leader role and does not handle it well. Yeah, and I mean I can take him being surprised because there was never a vote before. But
is that Rock?
Rock Kryn, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but as soon as he finds out he has to go back, emotions don't matter. His duty has to go. Like so, I preferred that. Yeah,
that was a cool reaction to him. Like he takes like 1 second, he closes his eyes, and he's out.
He's so sad.
Yeah,
I know.
It's like the Arrested Development Michael Cera Peanuts. I'm just waiting for him to throw down his backpack and just fall on his face.
I think part of me also thinks that this book suffers from being a normal schedule where in a landscape where literally everything is bi-weekly and inundation, right? So this is not, other than those Millennium issues, the original ones, and I think issue 2, maybe by like a week or two, this has not been late. This comes out once a month. Right. Whereas the Superman books, there's like 2 every 2 weeks. The Batman books, there's like 1 a week, if not more. So like this book is going on a normal schedule, but because of everything else, it feels like it's a slow pace. So I am wondering how this is going to read collected, or I'm excited to find out how this is going to read collected, because it's probably going like this is now all of his things are happening. This is my favorite Bendis at DC.
Oh, sweet.
Period.
Nice.
Yeah. I love Superman. I dig Action Comics. The little stuff here and there has been cool, but this is legitimately the most fun he seems to be having, the most creative that he is being with like the art choices and the coming up with this and that. Like this seems like he's having the most fun and it shows. So I'm more excited about this book and like it more than the other stuff he's got going on at DC.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four Antithesis #1 by Mark Waid and Neil Adams. An unstoppable meteor of unknown origin has just erupted from hyperspace. And unless the Fantastic Four can find a way to stop it from hitting Manhattan, millions will die. So I forgot that this was written by Mark Waid at first. And I thought it was just a Neil Adams joint, which made me go, oh, no. I'm not going to care about this. Because anytime in the past 6 years, maybe 10, that Neil Adams has written and drawn a book by his onesies, it felt like drugs. And it felt like nonsense, and I just haven't enjoyed it. But then I remembered, it's Mark Waid, so maybe this will be pleasant. I think it was. I think the team of having Mark Waid and Neil Adams together is a good one. I think Mark Farmer doing inks on Neil Adams is great. It almost gives a little bit of an Alan Davis sheen to it. It was a good looking book for the most part. I think anytime that the Thing moved his mouth, it was horrifying. Neil Adams draws the Thing real weird in this book. And my other big problem is that the big reveal at the end of this issue, which I don't think is connected to the current Marvel universe, is the same as the big reveal that happened last week in the Marvel universe proper. So it was like, oh, okay, this happened again, I guess. We're going to spoil it for you. Galactus is dead. And I went, oh, all right. So
I mean, he's not staying dead in either one,
Yeah, I know that. Having that be your big reveal twice in 2 weeks. Yeah. But what did you think, Len?
Okay. Fortunately, there was one book that I liked this week. So I'm fine shitting on everything. But I'm doubly fine shitting on this piece of shit. This is the antithesis of anything fantastic. This is garbage. This is without knowing anything, I guarantee this is Neil Adams wanting to do a Fantastic Four book. Why? I don't know. I don't think he ever really did a Fantastic Four book. So he convinced Marvel that he could do a Fantastic Four book. He always wanted to draw the thing looking like this part rock ape type of thing. And he went off, did his Fantastic Four book, turned it into Marvel, and Marvel said, yeah, Mark, can you do us a solid, dog, and just make sense of what he's done? And then Mark Waid was brought in to basically put a story, some coherency behind this mess that Neil Adams has put together. This is garbage. And yes, we all kneel down at the altar that is the Neil Adams of the 60s and the 70s, and maybe even into the 80s.
Yeah.
But that Neil Adams has long left the building, and we are left with the shell of a man who is just like steeped in his own self-indulgence and the memories of his relevance to the comic book universe, and feels that he can take these properties and do something better with him.
But enough about John Byrne.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God! See, this is why me and you are friends, because John Byrne was on my lips. This is John Byrne unleashed. That is exactly what this is. This is horrible. It absolutely makes whatever sense it makes is because Mark Waid is putting sense to it. The whole idea that Reed Richards may be, losing part of his intelligence, because he certainly doesn't sound like the Reed Richards we know in this book. The way he looks, Johnny Storm looks like, I don't know. He looks totally crazy. He doesn't even look like he's on fire. And then when he looks like he's Johnny Storm, he just looks like some podunk dude from North Carolina. There's nothing happening in this. There's these the transitions make no sense. The panel layouts are appalling, and it's just a mess. They are
the panel layouts.
Oh, JD, this makes no sense. Go to the panel that introduces Agatha Harkness, which then is like a cutout.
I like that. I thought that was cool.
It's not badly. It's not a bad idea.
It just doesn't fit anywhere in this book.
It's true. At glance, I thought he was walking into a model or had a model like that wasn't good.
It's not good at all, man. I mean, this is a piece of crap.
He's taking a boop-oops.
What is happening with the thing? What is happening with him?
Right. So the little indicia before this issue said that it was a classic adventure that we'd never heard before, kind of a thing.
Right.
So
right. We're going back in time.
This is supposed to be not in continuity. However, they all, like, what Mark Waid did with the dialogue was, like, they say hashtag blah, they talk about memes, they joke.
Thank
like,
you.
So,
Yeah.
so there's a real dissonance with, like, with story and art, and it wasn't great.
Yeah, Human Torch specifically had that going on. Like, he's trying to be a young guy, I think, is what the problem is.
Somebody else made the joke about the meme. It wasn't just Torch.
Oh, really?
Either way, it was like it was just trying really hard. and I was and also too, like, as soon as it was like something's coming towards Earth, I was like, I don't know, is it gonna be this? And they're telling me it's a classic tale of Fantastic Four. I was like, all right, is it gonna be Surfer or is it gonna be Galactus?
This is the cover. So
even without the cover, it was like, okay. And the big plan was we're gonna deflect it.
Yeah. With the hugest contact lens we've ever imagined. This is bullshit.
Well, he's not on it. I mean, Ian Reed's opposite of defense. He is not on his game. Like, he's feeling a little off right now.
You guys mentioned that it just sounded like a stupid piece of dialogue, not an actual plot point that he seems to be getting slower.
No, I think there's something. They bring it up a couple of times.
Yeah.
It was mainly her bitching to Agatha, right, about how he seems like he's really and the more he learns, like the more
some stuff too.
And somebody makes an allusion to like, because Reed says something like somehow. It's like, what do you mean somehow? That doesn't sound like you, Reed. Like you know, always know how. It's not no somehow. Yeah. Get out of here.
In a book of
actual dialogue from the book.
In a book of like big splashes and swings, that was way too subtle for me, apparently.
Well, I did enjoy this book. I felt like all of these seem to have, when it's a classic tale, they're by classic artists, like, they are a little dated. Len made the point in our offline that there was an odd pair, Mark Waid and Neil Adams, and I felt it was like peanut butter and mint. You know, they're like, it's just not something you would normally eat together, but they both go great with other things. And a little bit, once I read it, it still had that feel. But I found myself, I was reading and I was like, whoa, a classic Fantastic Four. Now, the Fantastic Four is one of my favorite Marvel properties, so I was into that. You know, them just doing their sort of classic thing. I like Agatha Harkness. You know, there's a bit of a greatest hits feel to it. The stuff like the hashtag thing, I explained away as like, all right, you're in a constant present, so even a story from the past is still in the present. It's weird, not natural, very stilted. Let's keep it going, you know. But just as like a fun Fantastic Four thing, that feels a little out of it, as these things often do. The like classic tales. I was down, you know. I was into it. Yes.
I think the thing that frustrated me the most is the first opening splash page, where there are multiple vanishing points, like the perspective. You've got the things over here with the Fantastic Four, and then you've got these people running down here, and then you've got this guy. What the hell is happening in this space? Right. It just doesn't make any sense.
Is he holding on to a handle for something?
I don't know.
That could be his lunchbox. A dumbbell.
The back of the he's got a kettlebell.
Kettlebell. That's what I was thinking.
I gotta save my kettlebell.
He was in the middle of a workout in Manhattan with his construction gear on, and he was just like, "I paid a lot for these."
Yeah.
All
this lifting this kettlebell is going to come in handy as I lift it.
Nihilus is not going to stop me from getting swole.
It's just another example of how Neil. It's a shame that this is for a lot of generations. This is going to be their introduction into Neil Adams. This and the whole Batman Odyssey thing that they did, and don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure this is Marvel having read Batman Odyssey and telling Neil like, yeah, sure, you can do something. Let's get somebody to write this stuff for him. This fever dream of a piece of shit. But it's a shame that this is going to be their introduction to Neil Adams, and you don't get to really appreciate, the the legacy of the man. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I want to say one other thing though, in defense of Marvel, that I've noticed in a lot of their books that I'm surprised DC has not done. And that is that almost on all of their books, there has been an opening page that has been dedicated in recent issues either to Denny O'Neil or to Joe Sinnott.
Yeah.
Two creatives who have recently passed, who have had monumental contributions to the world of Marvel Comics, especially Joe Sinnott, right? Now, Denny O'Neil, he definitely was a huge part of Marvel's history as well, and it's rightful that they have, put a splash page in front of all of their comics about him, right? But he has had an equal, if not more, impact in the world of DC. And if there was a splash page about him at one time in the DC comic book, I don't remember it. And even if it was, there's no reason why it can't continue to be a reminder of this man's contribution. That's one thing. And this is not the first time that Marvel has done something like this. They have always done this. And that, I think, I really appreciate their trying to stay connected to their history by introducing to the next generation these people of the past and their contributions, and why, them leaving this earth is so significant. I appreciate that. I really do like that.
Yeah, the DC did some Denny O'Neil stuff, but it was end of the book, and I think it was only in like the Batman books, or it was only for like a week or two. Because they went to print on something right away, and they only did it for like one run, where it seems as though DC or Marvel's doing it like, we're going to do this for a whole month, all the titles. So I was like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Yep. All right, that is what we've read this week. But
JT,
yes,
if people who have previously been throwing quarters and dollars just down onto the street want to do something else with it, could they give it to our show? Is there any way that, they could do that?
They could. Oh, no?
If it's physical money, there's something they have to do with it first before donating.
That's true. Let's explain the process of putting money into the bank.
Yeah. You open a bank account.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And then you take all of your loose physical currency to the bank. And then
they'll deal with it.
Maybe.
And then you go to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo, which Brandon just won't shut up about. He keeps trying to get me to change it to CultPop, which I could do if I knew how to do that. But yeah, so patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo if you want to help out the show. And you could also just send us money on Venmo at JD's Hero Complex on Venmo as a little tip jar if you want to help us out. And thank you so much, Brian, for asking that.
You're absolutely welcome. I feel like I've asked something like that before, but I just don't pay attention when you answer. So yeah.
It's best to just keep asking.
Yeah, exactly.
Where am I?
Yeah. This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. All right, so book
That's somebody else's hair.
We're going to be talking about Lucifer, Volume 1. So the last Sunday of every month, we do a little book club. So if you guys want to read the book and join us, that's why we do it. And no, what you got there? Show the people. Look at that big Lucifer hardbound omnibus.
That's cool.
This is the actual like printed cover. The dust jacket is the normal. What he looks like here. I'll show you.
The guy in the garden.
Yeah,
that is actually a cover of. I think that's one of the later issues. I'm not sure.
Nice.
That's such a cool cover.
It's a recent release because it's got the Sandman Universe bumper on it.
Well, I mean, not so much.
Oh, Vertigo, huh?
Oh,
well, I mean, Vertigo just stops.
I got this. I want to say a year and a half ago, a long time ago. Actually, I didn't even read it.
Volume 2 is not going to say Lucifer on it, or is not going to say Vertigo on it.
No. If I did decide to get Volume 2, it's going to end up being like Black Label, and it's just not going to match on the shelf.
Oh man.
So
you know what?
Lucifer, Volume 1, Devil in the Gateway by Mike Carey, Scott Hampton, Chris Weston, James Hodgkins, Warren Pleece, and Dean Ormston. Cast out of heaven, thrown down to rule hell, Lucifer Morningstar has resigned his post and abandoned his kingdom for the mortal city of Los Angeles, where he is now enjoying a quiet retirement as the proprietor of Lux, LA's most elite piano bar. But now an assignment from the creator himself is going to change all that. If Lucifer agrees to do heaven's dirty work, he can name his own price. But both the task and reward are more than they seem. So I had never read this book. Brian has been telling me to read it for many, many, many years.
Yeah, a long time. Since it was coming out originally, maybe.
Yeah, and he actually lent me the trade paperback, which I still have somewhere on my bookshelf. And so we finally got around to reading it. Who else besides Brian has read this previously? Oh, so all of us are newbies. Great. Brian, why don't you give us a little bit of history and why you like this book so much?
Oh, so this is one of my favorite works of fiction, prose, comic, whatever. I read it as it came out. I started probably towards the end of what we are reading now, because that's how, I didn't know it existed, and I grabbed like issue 9 or something like that. And I was so drawn into it, like almost immediately. The way that Mike Carey writes, the grandeur of his phrases, right? And the character of Lucifer specifically really grabbed me. Like, just the way that he writes him and the sort of machinations and the removal of his attitude, towards things, I found to be fascinating. We didn't quite get to Peter Gross's stuff, but it quickly goes into like some very awesome art, and the colors are amazing, and the landscapes are like transportive. It's a transportive work. Yeah. So
keep it to this volume.
Oh no, but that also applies. But we kind of get into it in the very last issue of this series. The fantasy world that is created, you see it a little bit in the grandmothers, just like the way that they are drawn in that last issue, was so interesting to me, and the character is so interesting to me. And we have a little bit of characterization going in from Sandman, but I hadn't read that yet. So I think plenty is done in this. To keep going. So that's a short version of why I like it so much. I'm really interested to hear what you guys think.
Well, Noel, kick us off.
I thought it was wonderful. It's a very dicey proposition to have, or to pitch that the antagonist of your book is going to be the paragon of evil in every other form of literature, and religion, and storytelling. Right. And to do that without glorifying him, but also just, it's a very witty and it's a very specific book. Like this first volume was 2 arcs and like a one shot, 3 issue arc and a 4 issue arc. The 3 issue arc about the little girl or the young girl and making a deal with the devil in order to hang on. The way that it turned out, all that matters is the way that it turned out. Him setting up a scenario with mild manipulation to get what he wanted, and it was still awful for the girl. Right. He wasn't the bad guy. He wasn't the good guy. Yeah. He just knew what was going to happen because of the frailty and the faults of humans. So he just kind of facilitated that choice.
Like he didn't screw her over.
He didn't screw her over.
Yeah, like I said, you'd have a chance.
Didn't help. Yeah, he also didn't help.
Yeah.
So it was I don't have to kill you, but I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you from this exploding train. I'm Batman.
So as soon as those 3 issues went through and I kind of understood the tone of the book, the rest of it was just a breeze, and it was really sweet. Sweet in experience, not a sweet book.
It's adorable, Lucifer.
Yeah, it was just like I super stan Lucifer Morningstar. No, it's a really fun book. It's It's over 20 something years old, but it does not read as such. It's a very evergreen kind of style, which I appreciate. Sometimes you'll read something from 10 years ago and it feels dated.
Mhm.
This feels permanent and persistent and good. Like, I'm very excited to continue reading.
Cool.
Len.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's dealing with, like you said, a character that has been, you know, a staple of fiction and fantasy forever. So you go into this book with some preconceived notions of what he should be and what he should look like, and then you're just turned on your ear by he's just he's Rick from Casablanca, just very like ambivalent to the world in this little bar, you know what I mean? So it was kind of cool. Full disclosure, you know, I only read like that first arc in this book, which was like cotton candy to me because I too have what little of Mike Carey's writing I have read, I've enjoyed, and I'm a sucker for some Scott Hampton art. So like I was in right there. I was like, oh, this book is like this. Where have I been? So and I loved how, just like you said, Noel, he is just he's just guiding this young girl on the path to her own dissatisfaction. It's like he is not getting in the way. He's just like put like a little bit of breadcrumbs, and then she's just eating it up, and he's just like, oh, he's just enjoying the show. You can literally see him just popping popcorn as he's just walking with her, you know, through this whole journey that they're on. And I enjoyed it. I was curious as I was reading this because I think this book falls into the genre of horror, and which is what probably kept me away from the book all these years because as I've said previously, I'm not really into horror comic books. And I would imagine that subsequent, you know, issues and volumes may be more horror centric, or at least to what I think of as horror. But if everything is like this, then I dig it because it almost comes across. It's funny. I was just talking to somebody about something else we were reading, and I referenced Will Eisner's The Spirit, who is like this detective who, in some of the most classic stories, is pretty much just, you know, just our eyes into this world, right? He's not. He's a part of the story, but he really isn't. He's really just there to just kind of like put everything together and tie the bow on the end. And that's kind of like how I read Lucifer. That's certainly how he comes across in the first arc. And if there's more of that, I'm sure he plays more, you know, you get more deeply into his whole story as it goes along, you know, this fallen angel and everything like that. But if a lot of that is this, then I will enjoy going back and reading Lucifer and collecting this book. I really, really enjoyed this character. It was
cool. And I really so the arc that you didn't get a chance to read, that second arc, the 4 issues that preceded it, having to do with a mystical / sentient deck of tarot cards, which is awesome. It delved very
I heard that.
very interestingly and deeply into social commentary in the 80s. With homosexuality and neo-Nazis and it was incredibly disturbing. It was incredibly prescient in a way that I wasn't expecting, and there's no happy endings here, but they're satisfying, and I appreciated that as a work of fiction.
Yeah, I think just to tell you a bit about what it's all about, for me, there's like horror that tries to scare you, and there's stuff that deals with horror characters, right? I'm not too into horror that tries to scare you, but I like a lot of the, like, you know, Buffy or whatever, you know, that kind of thing. This gets mainly, it's like biblical and mythological fiction that, as Rob Patty says, it never gets too grody. Land and trips to hell are more bothersome than gross. So they deal with the kinds of things that he would run into. But I wouldn't. I think you'd be into it if that's the kind of horror that you're into.
Yeah, it's the same kind of horror that speaks to me in a comic book form, like Hellblazer, John Constantine books. Which
it is in the Hellblazer continuity, actually, JJ. He makes mention of it in the intro, but Hellblazer appears in Sandman, and this comes from Sandman, so they're all in. There you go.
Yeah. I never made that jump before. I never realized that it would have that sort of vibe to it, which I've always loved. So this was a nice surprise for me. This is my first time reading this, and despite your attempts throughout history to get me to read it, I just never pulled the trigger, and I'm really glad we did. I like him a lot, Lucifer. He's a lot of fun. Yeah. And there's a lot of really cool things going on in here, like getting trapped in the mirror in the bar. I thought was kind of cool. And yeah, the way the first miniseries, the first 3 episodes shakes out is just kind of heartbreaking, but not totally unexpected, I guess, with who you're dealing with. So yeah, I think this is a great series, and I'm definitely going to finish it up at some point.
Yeah, he's an interesting take on Lucifer as like a guy, originally in mythology, he was punished and he was hell's first resident, rather than the leader and ruler of it. And that's not the case here. I guess to give anyone who hasn't read it, where we're starting is he has abdicated hell. He had Dream of the Endless cut off his wings, and he now is no longer in charge. But he doesn't fit a lot of the tropes of the I want humanity to be evil, I just love evil kind of.
I'm not down here collecting souls.
Right, exactly.
He's more of an anarchist.
He wants to be free.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's much more of an anarchist than he is any kind of nefarious being. It's just like, I mean, I'm over here doing my thing. Mm-hmm. You guys, I know how nasty and dangerous you could be. You just go ahead and do that over there. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and then the cool thing about his perspective is, first of all, he's like, listen, I rebelled how many fucking millennia ago, and I still got to do this bullshit. Like, you sent me to my room. I get it. Great. Can I do something else now? Like, thanks. Yeah. And then on top of that, it's God is omniscient and knows everything that's going to happen. And yet you created me, and knowing that I was going to rebel so that you could punish me, that's fucked up.
And he says, like, every time I try to improvise, my words were there in the script all along.
Yep. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. Oh, and how about you guys know what that letter was, right? Like what he wanted. That is revealed in this part of the story. Like what he gets
out of the letter that he slices open in order to create a portal.
Yeah, because he wanted to figure out like what's the trick here, you know, and it's that kind of like machinations, so back and forth. Yeah,
he does the good thing. Well, he helps the whatever as a gift. He helps the girl as a gift. He gets the passage back into heaven, and then the whole next arc is about like, is this on the level? And that's the whole tarot card thing. And when he finally finds out that it's a bit of a trick, I interpreted it as he opens the gate and then keeps that bitch open with a spell. And he's like, cool. This is what you wanted. This is what you got. Let's see. I'm here to enjoy the apocalypse. And then he gets him and Mazikeen get popcorn, and they just sit there and watch the world crumble. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah, because it's like he could get out, but if he used it, it would close behind him, and then that's not really what he wants. Yeah.
Oh.
So he just open.
Yeah, exactly. Which I just checked. He says that here. I'm not. That's you know it.
Yeah. That wasn't me looking up. That was in the page. Like let's see what happens.
Cool.
And he uses one of God's names.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yud Hey Vav Hey are Hebrew letters. Yahweh is what that would. That's.
I was wondering, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. He uses a couple. There's he refers to the girl in the beginning as a daughter of the Diné, right? Diné is the Navajo is Spanish, I heard, for horse thief, right? That's not what they called themselves originally. Diné which means people, as so many ancient societies named themselves the people in their own language. So just a bit of trivia on that one.
I want to hear, what'd you guys think of that last issue, the one and done? It's because, like Len said, there's a lot of that, where it's like Lucifer's the main character, but we got a lot of other interesting people, like one and done stories or whatever.
Whoops.
You didn't care for
Was
it?
this Born with the Dead with art by Dean Ormston?
Yeah.
I didn't read that one because I thought we were just reading the first 6.
Wasn't it a conversation yesterday?
It was. I even thought you confirmed it before the show today, but I misunderstood.
Yeah, whatever. I read it. It was great. It reminded me of Mignola, but so incredibly well written.
This
it's a bit of a dig. Mignola stuff is intentionally not complicated. Like the emotion is actually what you apply to it. His characters basically are just like, crap, shit, damn it, I'm gonna get it. Like it's underwritten intentionally. This is like a alliterative version of it. The idea of a little girl that's a bit of a seer, and her whole adventure with witches and witchcraft in order to find out how her friend was killed. She accidentally calls on Lucifer, and then that's tied into the arc from before. So like he's only like a guest player, and he only agrees to help her a little bit because he's like, I think you're the girl that's going to be that was mentioned in the tarot cards, and then that's it.
Oh, okay.
This is this really is a classic in between issue, kind of like a 7th issue where it's not the main story. However, it just kind of touches on it and plants a seed for later.
I'm curious to see issue 8 when Lucifer is on trial. Classic 8th issue.
8 and 9. The book is drawn by 44 angels.
They're gonna play softball first at a barbecue. It's the whole Sandman universe. It's Orpheus and Endless on one team playing Lucifer and Constantine and Swamp Thing over there. It's a whole thing. It's a whole team. Xanadu.
So yeah, I think we all agree.
Great.
Lucifer Volume 1, great.
Cool. And I'm so glad that you guys are into it. And I don't think it's giving anything away to say that this is the first 4 issue, like a special, and then 4 issues, and then this one and done, which is like a kind of a fill-in artist, but who stays as the fill-in artist throughout the book whenever they need to either story reasons or to catch up, do another thing. This is the setup. There's a lot of stuff that going back, I'm like, ooh, now we're getting going. And I looked ahead to what the first page of the next one is, and I was like, that's classic, ready to go.
Can I tell you how sometimes I read this a little bit ago when you loaned it to me originally, Brian. So I flipped through it yesterday to just refresh. And I know that this is a 75 issue series story. Wonderful ending, the whole 9. In the tarot card section, they allude to things, and part of me got pissed. Like, I'm gonna have to fucking remember all these like allusions for 70 issues. God damn it! So I'm hoping that when they start to come through, they'll either remind me or.
I think what that's there for is like when you do a reread after reading 75 issues, you'll be like, oh shit.
That's exactly what happened with me. I read that and I was like, oh shit, he already knew that this thing was going to happen. It does not matter at all. That tarot card, like the 3 panels that you see, all is on its own, stands on its own. I can't think of a good example right now of it, but there's been a couple of times where that's happened, and either book is late, can't finish it, do this, do that, and those mean nothing. And then like 5 years later, they'll like and apply it to the story with no context, and you're like, what do you think? You're so smart? What happened? That's just like a fun little.
All right.
Rob Beatty says why he ultimately abdicates hell, though, is the bestest surprise of all. Father/son dynamic is delicious.
Daddy.
Yeah, I didn't realize Mike Carey wrote in the forward how big of a theme that was for him writing it. And looking back, I'm like, oh, okay, I could see that. But I didn't. There's so much to take from the subsequent 70 issues of this book that there's a lot to think about.
So, Brian, I got a quick question to you. Considering what Lucifer means to you in literature, did you take a chance on watching the TV adaptation of the character?
I did.
What were your thoughts of it?
So I stayed away from it for a long time because I was like, I had heard how different it was, and this is such a place close to my heart. So close to my heart is this particular work of fiction. But I was like, I don't know that I want to, like if it's going to be so different. And then my mom really liked it. Is one thing that I had, she told me, and I was like, okay. And I would read little things here and there. And finally, I was like, you know what? It's so different from the other stuff that maybe it's different enough that I'm not going to hold it up. And then in Crisis on Infinite Earths, he makes a quick appearance.
Yeah.
And he was like, of Constantine. It's like, it's Constantine. Is it? I don't care. And then he goes back in. I was like, that guy's fun. So then I started watching it. And by that time, all 4 seasons that were out at the time were on Netflix. I watched all of that. And I like it a lot. It's great. The names are the same. I'm not even sure if Mazikeen appears in Sandman, there might be nothing that's original to Lucifer, the book, that is, they're just so different stories. Basically, he abdicates hell and runs a nightclub, and some of the characters have the same names. That's it.
Yeah, it's a procedural. Like they a big biblical story, and they're just like, hey,
right.
Cop dramas are popular,
and he's a pretty decent guy. Like he is not the same character at all as he is in. He does favors, but he's not like a manipulator or anything. I think they have like a name on a file, Gaudium, who in this book is a fallen cherubim. He's a little demon that pops in, and it's just like that's all he gets in that. The worlds are so different. But very, very fun in a different way. The first part of season 5 just came out of that. I loved it. Oh, it was great. It was. I'm loving the show, but just same names.
Okay, cool. I'm just curious.
Yeah. If you don't approach it as an adaptation.
I believe JD had put the banner up earlier
for Gutter Talk.
It is now time for Gutter Talk, ladies and gentlemen, and which is where we talk about all the things that are happening around in the white area of the comic book page, which are called the gutters. And today, I think it's only appropriate that we kind of like really just focus on really the biggest story of the week, and that was, as mentioned at the top of the show, the passing of Chadwick Boseman, the actor who portrayed Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He passed away on Friday after a 4-year battle with colorectal cancer. He was a very young 43 years old. This was a fight that he was having in and to himself. Only he and his wife and family knew of his battle. Even though there's certainly been allusions made that probably some of his people that were hiring him, who he was working with, knew of his struggle with this disease, which would ultimately take his life. And we gave our thoughts in the beginning of the show of exactly how much, how we felt about the loss of Chadwick Boseman. And now here in Gutter Talk, I think it's a time to speak a little bit more of the impact that he had in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in such a brief time, and and his impact actually into just pop culture itself. I'll start by saying that, after being saddened by his passing and everything like that, after reading on the internet how much his passing not only had taken over, geek Twitter, it was all over the place, and pop culture Twitter, but it was also like prominent in news Twitter, or like on every aspect of the world. It was out there, and it was reminding me of when Christopher Reeves passed, and you learned exactly how much his portrayal of Superman and how that came to embody how he, kind of like lived the rest of his life, especially in light of the accident that would happen years later. How much his passing impacted so many people, and it was very humbling for me, to be honest, as a black man, to have this black man's passing be so honored so resolutely across the world. It actually was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That says something about the man. It says something about his work, and hopefully it says something about where we actually are as a society, as opposed to what we sometimes see, on the screen.
I think as much as we're shown on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, on a minute by minute basis, just how divisive and shitty things are, especially for people of color. It's easy to forget that people do understand the context and importance of symbols. And on the page is just an actor in a superhero movie, but he embodied a symbol, a very powerful symbol for a lot of people that aren't just people of color, but a lot of people. And it was, I guess, just with the onslaught of so much awfulness in the last 6 months plus, it was I forgot. I kind of forgot just how effective and how emotional people were when Black Panther came out. So like when I was trying to remember too, I saw it with you and JD, Len, that screening. I loved it, but at the time I was like, it might not be the best. It's cool.
Right.
I like it. I just like it. Like I have seen it hand over fist more than any other Marvel movie over and over again, because it's just so effective and it's so inspiring and it's so wonderful. So I didn't even realize it in the moment that it could be and would be so important to people. So like it was a gut punch, but like I think the reverberations from the gut punch are a positive thing.
Yeah,
the importance of symbols, the importance of representation, the importance of icons.
I think it's important for it's important for anyone to look up on a screen and see somebody like themselves in a heroic role. And I am no expert on that impact here. I think it's also really important that for young white kids really liked Black Panther 2 and wanted to be Black Panther. That is probably really helpful in how those kids grow up and what they see their Black friends and or people that they don't know who are Black and what they see them as. And Christopher Reeve got to finish his superhero stuff, his oeuvre, and that is great. And that is a difference with this. And I always feel at least a little awkward. A human being has died, and I'm thinking at least somewhat about but what about their art? What about the next thing that they were going to make? An art is, for any of us, art is one of the major things that we can leave behind, no matter at what age or the circumstances of our death. So it is sad that he didn't get to do another entry in the Black Panther community. I mean, not that anybody's arguing against it. It's just I myself feel like, is that more important than the passing of a human being? But it is important. And also, it kind of looked like he was set up. I still haven't seen Homecoming, so I know it's a transgression, but don't spoil it. It kind of looked like Captain Marvel was Thor, Spider-Man was Iron Man, and Black Panther was Captain America in the next, Avengers iteration, And that may still be true of that character, but this man embodied that character so well. And I was, I was just thinking of the way that he moved, sort of Panther-like, you know what I mean? And his facial features were so distinctive but powerful. And, so I don't know, uncollected thoughts about this.
The point you made about representation too. I read a really good article recently. If I can find it again, I'll share it. But there's the surface level of representation that everyone always talks about, but the next level of it is for those that don't need to be represented on screen. So it's great for a little African American boy to see that an African American king hero.
Yeah,
it's just as important for a little white girl because they don't see that either, right? So like the surface level of representation is incredibly important. The next level of representation of normalizing people as people to all the white kids is just as important. Like you said, like the idea of the white kids, and then of course, us adults fucking ruin it by like, well, I mean, can they dress up as Black Panther? Because that's blackface, and you told us that was bad. Like, shut the fuck.
Kid wants to be his favorite superhero. Right.
Like, it's just like we ruin it. However, the more important thing being that this kid sees a paragon of hope and excellence, and they want to aspire to that. Right. That's why myths and idols and symbols are powerful and wonderful.
I mean, they shape our view of the world. Stories, and myths and stories. So yeah. Were you gonna say that? Oh,
yeah. I was just
sorry.
I was going to say that when the kids see me.
What's happening?
Okay, I don't know what's happening. Okay, all right. It got froze on my part for a little bit, so I don't know exactly what just happened.
we nothing happened. I thought you were reading what was on the screen. I didn't realize you froze.
And I thought that's what you were doing. So I was sitting there. I was like, okay. Action figure expert says that I am totally surprised that people at Marvel Studios know about traffic versus cancer, but never at any time was it leaked. That's the incredible thing is that he was diagnosed with this cancer back in 2016. And that was, I believe, if I remember, 2016 is when he first appears as Black Panther in Civil War. Right.
Yeah, so, Brandon put out the timeline for us.
Yeah, like they must have been filming slightly before, I guess, right?
Right, and it never leaked after that. It never leaked, and that probably speaks to himself, and it also probably speaks to Marvel and Disney probably honoring his wishes not to let it be out there, and that just gives you that much more respect because that means that while he filmed Black Panther while he was going through treatment for cancer. He filmed Infinity War and Endgame while he was going through treatment for cancer. He filmed other movies like 21 Bridges, a movie that he did while he was going through treatment. He filmed Marshall, his portrayal of Thurgood Marshall while he was going through this treatment.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, because that film actually came out in 2017, in between Civil War and Black Panther.
And he also played Jackie Robinson? I just learned that during this. Yeah.
He played Jackie Robinson. That was like his first leading role.
Oh, okay.
Playing Jackie Robinson. And then he would, the following year, play James Brown. He
has played a lot of notable historical figures here.
Outside of his work in soap opera, which is where he got his start, and like some small roles on television, the man is known for playing historical roles. Every role Chadwick Boseman is Black history.
That's cool. That's cool. I just heard actually there's an Egyptologist that I follow on Facebook because she had a show a while ago that I thought was awesome, and she just found out. She was like, I didn't realize I saw him. Did you know about this? The woman named Kara Cooney, she's very interesting, and she was like, I didn't realize until I just saw this announcement. Chadwick Boseman was the kid in my class who. I forget all of it, but among other things, did like a Egyptian hieroglyphics song that they in class. She was like, I just put two and two together that he was this like bright light in my class that did like I forget what the specifics are, but doing like modern music with Egyptian hieroglyphics. That's a cool thing to do,
That is, and I remember reading that story a little bit, but where I thought you were going initially was that he was also in the ill-fated 2016 film Gods of Egypt that got horrifically panned. Yeah.
I wanted to see that because I like the subject matter, not because I heard anything good about it. But
I think you would like it because they take Egypt mythology and they do not contextualize it. It's all as written.
Just so like here it is. Cool.
Like the world is flat. There is another plane of existence where the gods like it's all like they just take like mythology and that's the reality of the movie. And the gods are like 9.5 feet tall, played by normal actors, and the people like it is a weird fucking movie.
Right. I've heard it's very weird.
Oh, weird also? I'm in, guys. I don't care what any review says.
It's not good.
Okay.
But it's so incredibly fascinating because it's so weird. Like
cool.
If it's your thing, get high, watch Gods of Egypt, and order a pizza.
That was all right. I'll add pizza to the plan then.
Robert Patey's chiming in saying, ladies and gentlemen, and especially you gentlemen, get your colon checked. Waiting until age 50 is whack. A full colonoscopy is great. You get a midday nap.
I just had one done. Like last week, was it the week before? I'll tell you what, guys, I was dreading it. It was not that bad. Rob's advice is excellent. Do it.
Yeah, because I actually have one coming up, and I'm dreading it. I am JD as well. I believe
the prep was not. That was what I was worried about. Not as bad as I thought it was going to be. If that's holding anybody off, it's not fun. It's not terrible.
Yeah. All right, if you say so.
Pick up some beef or chicken broth. Yeah, that was what did it for me, man. Because everything else you eat has to be lemon or lime flavored and cold or clear, or it's a liquid. Beef or chicken broth, you get to sip on a hot, kind of savory, substantive tasting thing. Got a little bit of protein, and that was my favorite decision that I made about doing it.
Nice.
Yeah, but then you got to drink that whole gallon of stuff, man.
Yeah, that's not so great. Yeah, although I've heard different. So I had a big jug, and I had to do once every 15 minutes. It was like a thick water. There was a lemon flavor in it. And then I've heard other reports of slightly different. So, yeah, it's not great. But you know what? Dread it. Dread it. And then when you do it, it won't be so bad. Yeah. By gutter, we mean your anus.
Welcome to Gutter Butts.
What do you think that Marvel should do? I know it's like the crude question to ask, but it's a legacy.
No, I think you had a really good, not crude answer to that, Noel, to be honest with you.
Well, I had posited in the thread the idea that, I mean, part of me wants them to just straight up retire it, work around it. No one else should. Like, put it in a bubble, and this is excellence, right? But the character itself is contextually and historically too important for the masses, for representation, for Black excellence, for storytelling to just leave alone, right? Yeah, Shuri. That's what I was going to say. Like,
Robert Patey suggests this. Make
his sister Black Panther.
Yeah.
In the
I was
comic,
wondering too. She has been, No, you were saying?
No, I was.
I don't see why.
Go ahead, Len.
I could see them doing that. I could see them making Shuri Black Panther, making some type of allusion to his passing. Somewhere along the lines, I think you have to do it in Black Panther 2. I think you can't do it in one of the ancillary movies.
Sure.
I think it would have to be done in Black Panther 2, just so it resonates, and so that everyone can appreciate it and show your appreciation for his depiction of the role, as it were. But I think like sign her up, sign Letitia up, and let her be Black Panther moving on, or Lupita Nyong'o. Like
that would be interesting.
I'm down for some Lupita Nyong'o.
That would be interesting. And then you keep Shuri as
Letitia,
Shuri.
but Lupita.
Yeah.
in the context of the movie, though, didn't they destroyed all the root
I'm sure they could find some more.
Oh,
They
that's
did.
right.
They did.
Wait,
Yeah.
didn't M'Baku have some? No. They grabbed some
Yeah.
before it was burned down.
I mean,
That's
who
right,
knows?
that's right,
There's
right.
been a few reality stuff going on. There's always a grove or a clearing, you know what I mean? That's got some heart-shaped herb somewhere that you can find.
I don't know. I want them to. I trust Ryan Coogler that it's not going to be a weird cash grab and awful. Somebody mentioned it earlier, or action figure expert actually mentioned it earlier. The idea that, like, he was diagnosed before they started filming, but that the last 4 years and all of the appearances and everything, even his co-stars had no goddamn idea.
Oh, really?
No.
The
No.
studio,
Yeah.
that the studio has to know. Like, you have to insure people,
For
Yeah.
insurance.
and they have to go through physicals for everything that they film
Yeah.
for the union. So it wasn't a secret to Feige and Disney. So I wonder if they had a plan other than hope when billions of dollars were on the line.
Yeah. So the thing that was suggested, Shuri becoming that was her introduction in the comics, was he had died Black Panther, or no, I'm sorry, he was no longer the king, and she became Black Panther. And I was wondering about that too, and it would be a great solution. It's not without its problems, right? One, you lose Shuri as the kind of like Shuri character that she is now, the like tech wizard person that, that's a classic character that like assisting to the hero, and in this case is smarter than the hero in a lot of ways. You also, if you don't have T'Challa anymore either,
Right.
and T'Challa is great, and I'm sure Shuri as Black Panther would be great too, but that would be a loss. That obviously there's a loss regardless, but yeah.
I don't know what
I see Robert Patey suggesting that if he was Disney, he'd try to steal Zendaya from Sony to come in as a new character to fill the role as well. That's the beautiful thing about how they have set up the Black Panther Wakandan universe in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You don't have to bring in Zendaya. You don't have to bring in a new character. I mean, right off the top of the bat, we've named 2 characters who could easily fill the role of Black Panther.
And his, I forget her name, but his love interest could also.
That's Lupita Nyong'o.
No, that's Lupita Nyong'o.
Wait, who's the captain of the guard then?
The lead of the yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Michonne plays. Well, the actress that plays Michonne.
Oh, okay. I got it confused. I thought that's who we were talking about all along. She would make a great Black Panther, as would then Lupita Nyong'o or Shuri. There's a lot.
The character's name is just complete.
It just drew a blank on me.
Even the order of guards, I completely forgot the name. Damn it.
Yeah, and it's a very catchy name. It starts with a B, right? Oh, jeez.
Did you guys hear the rap music?
We did.
A little, yeah.
That is a guy out on the street in his Jeep.
Oh, my. It's loud.
It's vibrating the windows.
Jeez.
I hate this person.
He said, "I hate this person." Oh, Danae Guerrera, who played Okoye.
Okay.
What's the guard?
Hold
what
on.
is that?
The bodyguards. The order of bodyguards. Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje.
There we go. Thank you, Max.
Ding, 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 ding.
None of
There
us
we go.
remember that. It's crazy.
No prize for that man.
Action figure expert says, what is sort of messed up is that people have started to bank on Black Panther merchandise the same day I started seeing RIP t-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that happens every place now.
It does.
Yeah, it's gross.
Hey, maybe some of them are going to some good causes. That's a hope, at least, I thought you meant purchasing. I thought action figure expert meant like buying up, like.
Yeah, that's what I thought he meant.
Yeah, to try to sell them. Yeah.
Inflated prices. That's what I.
Right.
So,
and both of those could be true very easily.
very, very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very sad that he passed. But We'll see how the future plays out. We'll see how the future plays out.
Yeah. And there is still this movie. You know, it's in the books. Black Panther, phenomenal movie and something for people, children, to watch for years to come.
Oh yeah. I mean, he is going to be a cultural icon legacy for people for years. And thank you, Chadwick Boseman, for portraying Jackie Robinson, James Brown, Thurgood Marshall, T'Challa, heroes for Black people and Black children for years and years to come, and for being a hero yourself in just the way that you lived your life, and the embodiment and of class and grace that you presented on the screen and off. So thank you very much.
Also, since we're thanking him, also thank you for hosting Saturday Night Live, because that was probably one of the funniest episodes in the last 5 years.
That's right. I forgot about that.
T'Challa on Black Jeopardy was one of the best things I had ever seen.
I have not seen that.
Oh, he was such a good host.
Yeah, you got to see it. It's classic.
Okay. All right, I'll check it out. Gods of Egypt.
Incredibly fun.
Great. And you had mentioned, Len, that he seemed like a great guy off screen too, and I've heard a little bit about that, and that's great.
A great guy. I mean, you have to imagine how many times people were walking up to him, Wakanda forever. And though he made fun about that on the Saturday Night Live and a couple other places, he actually enjoyed it. He understood his role in this world, in this genre. He was just a great dude. Fantastic.
That's very cool. Well, yeah, I'm glad it was him then. Yeah, that's awesome. Glad it was him that got to play that role.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
So we can't really end the show. That's the thing.
JD.
Not without JD.
Yeah, we can't end the show without JD. We need JD before we can end the show.
That is a great note to go out on, and it feels bad to talk about anything right after. You summed it up great, Len. And but what are we going to talk about now for a few minutes
until JD comes back? You know what? Here's something. Yeah. We know that the Legend of Black Panther will live. The movie will live on. The Chadwick Boseman will live on. If you had to suggest for comic book readers a Black Panther book for them to read, one volume of Black Panther, because for a long time there pretty much was just the Reggie Hudlin collection or the Christopher Priest collection, but Black Panther has been an ongoing book for quite a time. Noel has been inundating us with pleas to read Black Panthers written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. So is there, which I did read a part of, and I thought it was pretty good. A little overwritten, but pretty good for the most part. And I'm interested to go back to it.
Comic work. It gets better.
Yeah.
Was that his first?
If there was
from novelist?
Yeah. So if there was a Black Panther book for you suggest to people to read, what would it be?
So other than what you just said, you could literally start at Nation Under Our Feet, the first 12 issues of Ta-Nehisi Coates' run, and it continues on for another 40 issues. It's good.
Cool.
But T'Challa is currently the head of the Avengers. He's the, I forget the title they gave him, but he's the leader of the Avengers, and his idea or his version of leadership is much more diplomatic, which is really cool. So the influence of Wakanda and T'Challa has been very heavy in the current Jason Aaron Avengers run, and it's quite nice. He's got sleeper agents, Wakandan sleeper agents all over the world. He gets people to come to diplomatic meetings, and it's really rad. I would read him as the head of the Avengers if you're interested. It's a great entry.
Yeah, cool. I don't think I have a good answer for that. Black Panther is a character that whenever he pops up, I'm like, oh, cool. But I can't think of a lot of a mini that I would recommend. Or when Shuri was introduced, he had an ongoing at the time, I think, which is less common
but maybe changing, then it would have been nice. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the art on that, and they got into some like kind of the mystical side of things. It's a bit of a cop out, but his original appearances in Fantastic Four are very cool. You know, just like historically, and I mean it's Kirby and Leo in Fantastic Four. So I'd be more interested to hear your recommendations about him. You know,
the short Dwayne McDuffie run of Fantastic Four, T'Challa was a member of the team, and it was
that was awesome.
That was really good.
Forgot about that. He and Storm took over when Reed and Sue were out doing something. They were like working on their marriage or something, I think.
Yeah, it was
he was the leader, I think, at that time.
It was only like 10 issues or so. It was a really short, like little run, but it was great.
That was really good. Yeah.
That's some good
Fantastic Four, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think to Brian's point about going back to his original depiction in Fantastic Four, if you were going to go dig into the crates for it, for Black Panther, that would probably be the best place to go, and I would stop there because it's Kirby, it's very loud and bombastic, and it doesn't try to get too political, so it reads fine. I think some of later iterations of Black Panther, I think that some of the politics of the day are a little sketchy and it doesn't read as well. I was not a fan of the Reggie Hudlin run. I was a fan of the Christopher Priest run, so that was pretty good. But to me, I honestly, especially if you've been introduced to Black Panther primarily from the movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I would side with Noel, and I would say to go to the Ta-Nehisi Coates run or him in the Avengers, because I think that is closer aligned with the Black Panther that is in those films, and probably a more truer, honest, and faithful rendition of the character as he should be represented. So
you know what? Also, Hickman had a lot of fun with T'Challa during his Avengers run. Like, he was the moral center of the Illuminati, if there could be one. Right. And then like the whole run was ended with Secret Wars, and T'Challa was like a huge part of that. Even wielding a Infinity Gauntlet. So like he did some really, because there's some writers lean into it, some don't. There's a real regality, obviously, to T'Challa. Some don't include that at all, and others like really do. And Hickman and Ta-Nehisi Coates definitely touch on like the importance of his position just as much as the man in the position. So like it's a story choice to either humanize someone or make them aware of their importance without being haughty or douchey. Right. And both of those writers do it really, really well. Like, he knows how important he is, but it's more of a testament to how great he is because that's not a factor in his moral character. It's really, really well done.
He shows up in there's an animated, so the current Avengers animated stuff stopped doing just like episodes, and now I think they do like it's weird, but they're like blocks of a storyline, but they have a separate subtitle. And I don't know how they show up on IMDb or whatever, but they've got a separate subtitle for each thing. And Black Panther and Shuri are, I think like Black Panther it's like a Black Panther centric story with hardly any of the other Avengers are in it. But it's good, and he does a good, like, a regal sort of thing. Yeah.
An action figure expert that mentions that you can watch Earth's Mightiest Heroes on, if you subscribers to Disney Plus is up there, and Black Panther is featured in that show as well. And to me, that is probably the best animated iteration of the Avengers that I've seen in a long time. And Black Panther is definitely prominent as a member of that team as well.
Yeah, because they move things forward.
It's going on 1 o'clock.
Can we? Yeah, JD, can you hear us?
Can you hear us, JD? Because I gotta get out of here. I cannot go too long. I am not. I can't. I just can't. I just can't. I gotta go. That's all I'm gonna say. I gotta go. All right. Because I like breathing. There's JD. Hey, JD, how you doing, buddy?
We're gonna wrap up. We just we can't shut off.
Yeah, we need you to close the show.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Gutter Talk. And spoiler alert, the Cult Pop Podcast. You can join us here every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. where we live stream. You can tweet at me at JD's Hero Complex. You can help the show out by going to patreon.com/JohnnyDestructo. Brian, where can people reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Bartocci, BARTOCCI, or any of the CultPop social medias.
Nice. And Len?
Any place that you find the black tribbles, holla at a tribble. Holla, 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 holla.
Nice. Sorry, guys. I got a store full of people. I got to go help them. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk. Oh, actually, real quick before we go, did we discuss our next book of the month book club?
Oh, great.
I suggested Eternals, the Gaiman and John Romita Jr. I thought that would be kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anybody ever read it? I've never read it.
I haven't read it.
Read it as it was coming out.
I mean, it's apparently a very popular. It's very popular movie coming out, but then also it's relaunching in September.
Cool.
So let's read the old stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to read
it'll
this.
be a movie too. So
Neil Gaiman series. When we'll talk about it the last Sunday of next month. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Toodles.